Hey there guys, Tom here. Welcome back to my movie channel and thank you very much for joining me for this, my first review of my new review series. So a couple of weeks ago, as you all have probably seen by now, if you haven't seen it, go and check out my ranking of the 8 Harry Potter live action movies. I did that ranking because for no reason whatsoever, I've just been watching the Harry Potter movies recently. And then I had a couple of comments on my ranking video saying, hey Tom, why don't you review the Harry Potter movies? So that's what I'm going to do today. And we're going to start with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or the Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you live. So if you haven't been to this channel before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so that you never miss out on my take on all things movies, and thank you very much for joining me. So, this is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This is a movie that it was probably one of my first movie-going cinema experiences that I can remember seeing. This was a movie that was incredibly pivotal in my life. It was an incredibly important experience for me. I remember seeing this movie for the first time on the big screen. I remember just cowering and hiding in my grandmother's arms as Voldemort turned around and you saw Voldemort on the back of Professor Quirrell's head. So I have very fond memories of this movie and of the entire Harry Potter series. And of course, I did read the first Harry Potter book, although I think it was actually read to me. I don't think I read it on my own, but I was definitely sort of learning to read as I was, you know, getting into these books and this movie. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, this is a movie that I adore. I love this movie. It is not my favorite of the Harry Potter movies for sure, but it is, you know, I like all the Harry Potter movies. There's not a Harry Potter movie that I don't like or that I hate. I think these are all good to great movies. And the Philosopher's Stone really, to me, is one of the biggest achievements in cinematic history. Just for what this movie did with the scale of it, the casting. There is not a bad casting choice throughout this movie. In fact, there isn't a bad casting decision in any of the Harry Potter films. This movie in particular, though, like just talking about Philosopher's Stone, the casting of, say, Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid, the casting of Alan Rickman, the late great Alan Rickman as Severus Snape, who it might be his greatest role ever. It's certainly my favorite role of his that he's ever done, and he's just brilliant as he always is. And then, of course, you have the casting of Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, and Daniel Radcliffe as our main 3 protagonists throughout the entire Harry Potter saga. Now, casting, you know, unknown child actors is always risky because you never know what you're gonna get, and I think they did a really good job of casting these 3 young actors because they do a very good job in this first movie, and of course they get better as the series goes on. And I remember at the age I was at when I first saw this movie, just being in love with Hermione Granger. I was obsessed with her. I mean, who isn't? Who doesn't love Emma Watson as Hermione Granger? But Daniel Radcliffe, you know, in this movie in particular, really sells this performance because if, as he's walking through Diagon Alley, or as he's walking through Hogwarts for the first time, you know, as Professor McGonagall is walking them into the Great Hall, there's that great, you know, overhead shot of them all walking into Hogwarts for the first time, or as they're getting off the train and Hagrid's waiting for them to take them to the boats, and, you know, if we don't believe Daniel Radcliffe's performance as Harry Potter, as he's walking around looking and, you know, just being in awe of what he's seeing, and that's a theme throughout the Harry Potter movies that, you know, even though, you know, Harry Potter's been exposed to this world of magic, is that magic still surprises him. It never fails, you know, to give him this sense of awe and wonder as to what he's seeing, whether he's learning a new spell, whether he's seeing a ghost for the first time, like Nearly Headless Nick, whether he's facing Voldemort. If we don't believe Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter is actually seeing what he's seeing, then this movie just completely failed. So I've really got to hand it to, like, what, a 12-year-old Daniel Radcliffe at this point in this movie for just giving the performance that he gave and being supported by you know, Emma Watson is fantastic in this movie. There's dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? She's probably the best of the 3 young main cast, but, you know, Rupert Grint as Ronald Weasley, that was just the most perfect casting choice for that role. He's fantastic in this film. All 3 of them are. Go back. I encourage you all, like, it's on YouTube somewhere. Go find it. Go and watch their screen tests because they have just instant chemistry. It really took them no time at all to get used to each other. And, you know, even some adult, you know, very, very experienced actors don't have great chemistry, but you put three kids together who before this I don't think knew each other at all, and you just throw them in the deep end and they have instant chemistry and they instantly work as these characters. Now, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, isn't a perfect film. There are issues with the film. The film definitely, I think, lags a little bit in the second act. You know, it meanders a little bit, but not too much. I don't find myself, you know, at any point particularly bored with the movie. But once you get to the troll scene in the bathroom, the movie definitely picks up. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is actually when they're first learning to fly the broomsticks with Madam Hooch, who, why wasn't Madam Hooch in more movies? I really enjoyed Madam Hooch as a character. But anyway, that's beside the point. I love that first Quidditch match, even though the CGI full-body people flying around on broomsticks didn't age well, but at the time, that was like it blew my mind to see that as a kid. But I did, of course, want to talk about Alan Rickman as Snape, because he is probably my favorite character in Harry Potter, aside from maybe Voldemort. Voldemort is a character that I love. But Severus Snape, especially in this movie, you know, I always was terrified of Snape as a kid, especially in this movie, because Snape is the character that, you know, as you're watching the Harry Potter movies, and we have the benefit now of, we have all seen all 8 Harry Potter movies, so we know the full context, and we know the full story of Severus Snape. But in the first movie, you weren't sure where his loyalties lie. You didn't know which side he was on. You didn't know why he went, you know, and confronted the 3-headed dog. You didn't know all this stuff. So he's painted a bit of it as a mysterious character in this film. But in my opinion, he gives the best performance, you know, in every Harry Potter movie. He is the standout performer to me. I do feel like the movie feels a little bit of pressure, though. You can definitely feel the pressure on this movie of having to not only make a great first movie, but also having to try and set up for the sequels. That's what I was saying when the movie meanders a little bit, because you do have these moments where Harry's just getting things explained to him all the time, which as a kid I didn't mind, but upon rewatch you're like, okay, all right, move on. But again, that's because we've seen all the Harry Potter movies, we have all the context. But as a kid, it didn't bother me. I was just going, wow, look at all this stuff. And it's amazing the amount of practical effects in this film. You know, you have the Gringotts elves, you know, Warwick Davis played the is it elf or dwarf or whatever it is, but the practical makeup on them, the fact that, you know, most of Diagon Alley, it was, you know, sets and practical locations, and most of the castle was a practical location, if not, you know, for the exteriors of the entire castle, it was like a model. And I've really got to give it to them, because it made the movie way more believable. And I watched this movie now, and yes, some of the CGI, especially in that Quidditch match, hasn't aged well, but for the most part, like for 99% of this movie, the effects are great. Maggie Smith going from a cat to turning into a real human being. I mean, as a kid, that was like mind-blowing to me. I was like, wait a minute, how did she do that? How did she turn into a cat? And look, it's not a perfect film. Like I said, it meanders a bit. The CGI in the Quidditch match isn't great, but the Quidditch match itself is just, it's a fun sequence to watch. It really is. But we can talk about how, you know, the CGI in the Quidditch match wasn't that great, but you get to other, you know, CGI elements like the 3-headed dog Fluffy. That was incredible. That dog looks great. I mean, you know, especially for the time, that dog looks great. You have the CGI of the ghosts. They look great. Nearly headless Nick always never fails to make me laugh. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone certainly isn't the best Harry Potter movie, but I still think it's a great movie. I still love this film. What do you guys think of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's / Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you live? What do you guys think of this movie? What are your fond memories of seeing this film as a kid? Let me know in the comments section below. Let's carry on the discussion and talk some Harry Potter. And I will, of course, be back in a week or two with my review of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I cannot wait to talk about that movie. It is one of my favorite Harry Potter films, of course. I mean, they're all my favorites, but anyway, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is up next, so keep your eye out for that review. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Tom. Remember to hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies, and I will see you guys next time.